Good evening, everybody. Keith Engel here for TGI Sports Talk College Football Huddle. Hopefully everybody's doing well tonight. What a weekend. Interesting. Listen, I get some shout outs here in a second, but what an interesting week of football, opening week. One undefeated conference. We'll talk about that. It's not the SEC, by the way. We found out a little bit about why they do not play non-conference games on the road. There, we got a little noise here. We found out a lot. Did we learn anything this week? We'll find out. We learned that we couldn't watch a lot of college football thanks to Disney and Spectrum, Charter, whoever you want to call them. Thank you very much. I get ripped off on both ends, but we'll talk a little bit about that as well. And I'll talk to you about how I got around it a little bit on Monday night. But I want to welcome everybody who's watching us tonight on TGI Sports Talk, on Northeast Streaming Sports, on Let's Talk Sports, on Zodiac, and wherever you might catch us later, and all the groups that are so kind to allow me to share the show with them. Had a great night, and a quick shout out to Dan Harris. Dan Harris back on the air. Dan's still not doing well, guys. Send your prayers, send your thoughts and prayers to Dan Harris. There's no better guy in this arena that I've been in the last 3+ years, 3.5 years, whatever we're getting to, than Dan Harrison. So keep some thoughts and prayers in your minds for my good friend Dan Harris from Let's Talk Sports. But it was good to be back on the air with him last night as he was hosting a AFC East round table, which we had a lot of fun with on Let's Talk Sports. So had fun with that. And welcome everybody tonight. We're going to get into, and we'll have Jim Beringer, speaking of Let's Talk Sports and full press hockey in a different context, full-time writer with fullpresshockey.com and a great contributor to Let's Talk Sports as well. Jim Beringer will join us around 7:30, I believe. And we'll talk. I know he's excited about the Colorado win. Me, I'm tempered. Happy they won. TCU was my best bet last week. One conference still undefeated, the Pac-10 Pac-12 without losing. These conferences don't know how many teams they have. Why should I? No losses after week 1, week 0 and week 1. Colorado with a huge upset. If you look at it as a huge upset over TCU. Not sure if this is a ringing endorsement of Colorado and Coach Prime or an indictment of TCU or a little of both. We'll talk about what I still think will be lie ahead for Colorado. Florida State with a huge statement win, struggling a bit in the first half. Huge win over LSU. We'll get into that. We'll get into the Duke upset over Clemson. Got a couple good upset picks myself. SEC, as I said, struggling in non-conference road games against ranked opponents. Just saying, LSU, Florida. Ohio State, still searching for a quarterback. We'll get into all that. We'll look at this week's games. We'll look at the rankings. We'll look at everything. Turn this off. All right, guys. Let's see who's with us so far tonight. We got a few trouble seeing got to get to the eye doctor. Anthony Price, good evening. How are you? Thank you for the serve. You were wondering why, yeah, probably because of Spectrum/Disney. If it was on any of the ESPN networks, if it was on the Pac-12 network, you weren't going to get it. That counts for the SEC network, the ACC network, Big Ten network. I'm fit to be tied. I did find a way around it. I didn't think it would work, but it did. Hello, Rick. How are you, buddy? I did what you sometimes do and checked Georgia's schedule, and the only game that I saw as a challenge, we'll take a look at it in a little bit. Actually, I think we've done it, but we'll do it again tonight because this is my pick to three-peat, Rick. I may throw a couple curves in that argument a little bit, but I am on record as saying I think the Dogs have a great chance to three-peat. NCA with his Knowles. I bet Florida State. Listen, I gave you a couple of really good upsets. I said Wyoming would have the ball in the fourth quarter, a couple minutes left with a chance to win. They win in overtime. I gave you Duke keeping it close against Clemson, and they went outright. Now, I said I steered you wrong badly with TCU as my best bet. And by the way, I did bet Penn State. And if you bet on West Virginia, that's about as beat as you can get. The spread's 20.5. Penn State's up 14 with like almost no time left. They should be taking a knee, and they don't. They score, kick an extra point. They win by 21. I think was it 21. Might have been a little more, but they would have covered without the touchdown. And it also went over because of that score. Those of you who are conspiracy theorists might have a thought or two on that. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I did get a win, and I'm very happy. So anyway, welcome everybody. We're going to take a look at last week's top 25. Listen, surprises. I don't know that I said TCU is my best bet. After watching the game, I can't be surprised Colorado won. They were up, Coach. You know, Deion Sanders is like a split personality. There's Deion and there's Prime. And he feels his team has been slighted by the media, his home media, the road media. They felt his son was disrespected. And he's going to fire up this team and this fan base. There's been this much excitement in Boulder in 30 years. Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Overreaction, you know, there's people got Colorado going 10-2. Come on. This is a good league. They got to play USC. I think I had them 6-6. I went through this on Sunday, I think. I will tell you the SEC and some of the Big Ten teams played some really bad teams, and they won by some pretty big scores. Little old school football scores this week. Let's take a quick look. I want to take a quick look at last week's top 25. Why don't we start there? We'll look at some other games that are noteworthy. Where are we? The week started out, by the way, at 8 o'clock last Thursday night while we were getting done with this show. The night after the show, I was doing a AFC East, another different AFC show last Thursday night. But as soon as the game was getting ready to start, guess what went black? ESPN, no Utah, Florida. Big dispute with Disney. I want to start there. Disney, as you may or may not know, owns ABC, all the ESPNs, which in turn affects, as I mentioned, all those networks, those league networks that I mentioned, the Pac-12, the ACC, the SEC. And it's BS. And I got to tell you what, I mean, look, at these things happen. These disputes between TV providers like Charter/Spectrum and Disney or whoever we might be talking about. But the fact that I pay Disney directly for the app for ESPN Plus has nothing to do with Spectrum or Charter, and I still can't get the games, is BS. I called them and they said, well, it's because you're a TV provider. I'm paying you directly. What a scam. I got to tell you. And I'm ticked off. I don't know there's not much I can do about it. I'm probably going to go get a free trial on somebody this weekend so that I can watch some football. Now, I did find a way around it. I read this on Facebook, and maybe I mentioned it on Sunday's Stream of Consciousness. I don't know. But come Monday night, when the game was on ESPN, Duke and Clemson, I bet Duke, so I wanted to watch the game. Somebody had said, watch it on YouTube free. Now, YouTube TV has their own TV streaming service. But that's not what he's talking about. I went to the free YouTube. I did not think this would work. Put in Clemson live. I have the Clemson and Duke game live. 10-second delay, 12, 15-second delay, something like that. One problem, it stopped. I think it's somebody's obviously got a hookup like StreamYard, like I use here, or some other streaming provider, and is restreaming the game to their YouTube page. Stopped once. I redid it, found it again. Only had to do that twice. Watch the entire game. There's always a way around things. What do we got here, Rick? Billy would tell you to fix it then. Kenny would tell me to fix it then, probably too. I don't know. But when I win, I don't worry about fixes. And I never believe that stuff anyway. Again, people talk about this stuff, this Penn State games, like this Penn State game, like referees care, like coaches care. All the comments that I saw the next day on Facebook, or don't tell me James Franklin doesn't know the score. What's he care whether they cover or not? They don't care. Guys, Occam's razor. The simplest answer is almost always the correct one. There's no fixes in here. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen. I'm telling you, as a rule, games are not fixed. If they were, I got a friend of mine who I used to sit next to when we would watch NFL football, and every game was fixed. He bet every game, and he'd claim every game was fixed. And I'm thinking, why are you betting then? Games aren't fixed as a rule. Okay. Anyway, huge openers for the ACC. FSU agree. Great. ACC really comes out of this a winner this weekend. So did the Pac-12, by the way. Let's be fair, CA. Now, games weren't as big. Duke, and again, ACC loses a little here too, because if Clemson doesn't have the luster, the ACC loses some luster as well. But I said here, Duke would keep the game close. I wasn't sure they'd win. And I said Duke would win 9 games. I'm not sure I had to win this game, so maybe they're going to win 10. We'll go through some schedules as we need to. Georgia will go through because, again, I have picked them to repeat. Anyway, Thursday night, after it went black on Spectrum, Utah, who I did give you last week as well, 24-11 over Florida, avenging their season opening loss last year, which really hurt them. They won this game without Cam Rising playing. Johnson played quarterback. Didn't throw the ball a lot. Ran the ball for a touchdown and 46 yards. Utah wins their opener for the first time in a couple of years. They've been hurt badly by slow starts the last couple of years. The rest of the top 25, and we'll look at some other interesting games if there were a few. Notre Dame rolls over Tennessee State. Sam Hartman with another nice game. Georgia playing UT Martin, 48-7. What do you expect? Michigan plays East Carolina. A little tribute to Jim Harbaugh before the game, or on the first play, I should say. J.J. McCarthy with a big game there, 280 yards and 3 touchdowns, 30-3 over East Carolina. Put those comments up, guys. We'll get to them about these games and any other you want to talk about from last week. Ohio State, not a great. They struggled at Indiana. Indiana plays, Tom Allen's defense is his forte. He's in trouble as a head coach, but not crazy about, the quarterbacking at Ohio State. McCord was only 20 of 33 for 239 yards, averaged only 7 yards an attempt. Not great. That's going to keep the receiving numbers down for this team. They're good enough. Their defense played better, but this is a weak Indiana team. They should have whipped up on this team, and it's one of the few. Again, there was a handful of conference games yesterday or this past weekend, and that was one of them. Alabama, Middle Tennessee. And by the way, these are not community colleges. It got brought up Sunday on the Mac and Jack show that, these SEC teams are playing community colleges. These aren't community colleges, guys. They're not Power 5 conferences, but these teams, except for UT Martin, I think, are all playing FBS 1 football. USC romps over Nevada, only give up 14 points. Caleb Williams, 5 touchdowns, 319 yards. The early front runner for the Heisman if you want to start in game 1, which I don't. West Virginia, I already mentioned the game. It was a 23-point game, but they would not have covered without that play that I mentioned. James Franklin gets off to a good start, and their new quarterback plays well. LR played pretty well, 3 touchdowns, 325 yards. First time for this old school rivalry, the first time they played in quite some time, as they used to play every year. Boise State, who I thought would give Washington a much better game this weekend. I didn't bet it. Washington wins 56-19. That's a big statement for Washington. Boise State's not a bad team. Michael Penix off to a huge start. I guess maybe I'll call him Heisman favorite so far. We've got to have one after week 1. Michael Penix Jr., 450 yards and 5 touchdowns. Texas doesn't roll over Rice. Quinn Ewers plays okay, 260 yards and 3 touchdowns. The big news there, I guess, was when Ewers did come out, Manning did not go in. Again, I'm not reading too much into that, but they went 37-10 over Rice. Tennessee rolls over Virginia as we thought we would. Virginia just happy to get back on the field. I think after last year's shootings, we hope they can get that program straightened out. Milton throws for a couple of touchdowns in this game. Oregon, Portland State's not Portland is not an FBS 1 school, by the way. 81-7. I don't care. I really don't. I mean, we talked about it Sunday. Stop me. You want to come in for these paydays, and you better expect to get beat up. That's all I'm saying. Bo Nix with 3 touchdowns in this game, playing for his 5th offensive coordinator in 5 years, by the way. Kansas State rolls over Southeast Missouri 45-0. Colorado, which we've already talked a little bit about. Coach Sanders' son goes for 510 yards and 4 touchdowns. Deion thinks he ought to be in the Heisman conversation. Can we see him play against, let's see him play 1 league game first, I guess, before we get excited. Wisconsin and Luke Fickell with their new air raid offense. With Longo, the offense coordinator, they roll 38-17 over Buffalo. Oklahoma, speaking of big scores, 73-0 over Arkansas State. And by the way, I have to tell you, one of the big teams in a lot of trouble, or one of the coaches, I should say, in a lot of trouble is going to be Butch Jones at Arkansas State. He has really, really had some problems. In another game I thought would be better, South Carolina loses to North Carolina. I guess you can call it a road game for South Carolina. Technically a neutral site in Charlotte, North Carolina. But another SEC team losing to at least a ranked team, again, on the road. Same with LSU. Same with Florida. Ole Miss beats up Mercer 73-7. The new quarterback, Jason Dart, gets 4 touchdown passes. We'll see if that can carry over for Coach Lane Kiffin. Texas A&M 52-10 with, as we know, Bobby Petrino calling plays now instead of Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher also needing a big year this year. Tulane rolls over South Alabama 37-17. Watch out for this team. They've got pretty much all their main players back from a Cotton Bowl winning team over at USC last year. Pratt, one of them, the quarterback, goes for 294 yards and 4 touchdowns. Iowa beats Utah State 24-14, falls out of the top 25 in doing so. We'll take a look at that top 25 in a little bit. By the way, not good news for Kurt Friend's son, the offensive coordinator, as his contract states if he doesn't average 25 points a game and win 7 games, he will get fired. Florida State, as we said, rolls 45-24 over LSU. Brian Kelly better stop putting bulletin board material out there for his opponents. I'll say that for him right now. Shut up. Oh, my gosh. Right? Oh, how did I got to tell you, it was like tail two halves. Florida State got off to a quick start in this game, then struggled quite a bit to finish the second half. Jordan Travis struggled. The offense was out of sync, but LSU didn't really capitalize, and they just went off in the second half, just outscored them 31-7 in the second half. I think they scored 31 unanswered points, if I'm not mistaken, to roll away in this game. And then Duke, of course, with the really, really big upset of Clemson on Monday night, 28-7. Clemson, the offense looked really bad again. Klubnik, not good. 1 touchdown, 1 interception, barely 200 yards passing. This kid for Duke, keep your eye on this kid for Duke. Riley Leonard played really, really, really well. He ran for 98 yards and a touchdown. Threw for only 175, but he's got some moxie, this kid. Keep an eye on him, and we'll talk some more. I see some comments up here, and I see our resident SEC elitist has joined us, too. We'll see what John DeLong has to say here in a second. We use Sling with a sports pack, $55, first month half price. I'm not paying for anything. I'm doing a trial this weekend. Hope. My problem with getting off of Spectrum and Charter is that if I do that, I'm going to pay. I have to have good internet. And I'm going to pay through the nose for my internet if I don't have any other choices for high-speed internet here. So I really can't go elsewhere. I mean, I can drop down to their basic package and then do apps for everything else, which I'm willing to do. My wife is on a little different page than me, but anyway, Sling is something I've trialed in the past, so I don't know that I can this weekend. Love the red zone, by the way. If I'm home watching and the Patriots aren't playing, I'm watching the red zone. NHL channel as well. There's our resident SEC elitist, the leader of the elite, John DeLong. Welcome, John. Good to have you with us. I would like to be in the show with an impression. Okay. Orange and blue plant. Okay, I can't wait to see what it is, John. This is my impression of every call from an Alabama fan on the Paul Feinbaum show. I can't watch Paul Feinbaum right now, by the way, because of freaking Disney and Charter. Just you might hear this from me 100 times in the next hour, so I apologize. This is my impression of every call from the Alabama fan on the Paul Feinbaum show if Georgia wins another natty this year. But Kirby Smart is cheating at Athens. You're probably right, John. I wouldn't doubt that. Mac Jones, and I would say congrats to Mac Jones, the only coach to win 100 games in both at two schools, North Carolina and Texas. Certainly not the same success at North Carolina that he had at Texas. I'm not expecting any national championship wins or appearances, but one never knows. And again, we're expected to be joined by Jim Bering here near the bottom of the hour. So we'll talk about some of this stuff with him. Guys, any of your impressions? Again, overreactions. People have overreacted all week to Colorado. Played a great game. TCU did not play a great game. Turned the ball over at least twice inside the 10-yard line. Not terribly impressed with the Colorado defense. Got to be impressed with Sanders' kid, though. Good evening, Dave Guyette. Good to have you with us. Syracuse gets a big win, by the way. Speaking of Dave Guyette, over Colgate. When I say big, I mean large victory. UAlbany lost at Marshall, by the way, for you local fans. And UAlbany will play at Hawaii without their head coach. I just saw on the news before I came on this weekend. So UAlbany traveling all over. You're not missing much on Feinbaum. It's mostly with Deion fit. Please. Oh, my God. Is there any place? Listen, Deion won't fit everywhere. I didn't think Deion fit at Boulder, to be honest with you. Deion's a great fit, in any of the Florida schools, I'd say. I don't think he's a fit at Alabama. It will become interesting, though. And I'd love to get anybody's. We'll talk about this on this show, other shows, lots of shows, because there's probably a long time before it's going to happen. Nick Saban's going to step down at some point. I have thought for a long time, as have a lot of people, that Dabo Swinney was probably going to be one of the prime candidates for that job. If Clemson is truly on a downward arc, and again, one game, I said this Sunday, I don't get too excited or too deflated over, one game. Colorado, nice win. I still think they'll go 6-6. Nice win for Duke. I still think they'll win 9 games. Maybe they'll win 10 now because it's not one of the games I had them winning. But then my opinions don't change a lot based on this one game. Clemson could go off and run off the rest of their season. But this is a conference loss, and remember, there's no divisions now in the ACC. It's the top 2 teams. So, and Florida State, again, I like them. I picked them to get into the playoff. I'm not going to get excited and say, oh, it's a goal. It's a sure thing. They still got a tough road to get there. Plus, they got other teams to contend with ahead of them. They did move up to 4 in the AP poll. We will use the AP poll for our purposes here on this show until the playoff poll comes out, which is not going to be for months, obviously. John thinks that Nick coaches this year plus 2 to 4 more years. I don't see him. I wouldn't doubt that. I mean, look at, what is he, 71? Not sure. We went through this last year and I was off by a year, maybe. I believe he's 71, I think. I could see him coach until he's 75, 76. How long did Bobby Bowden go? Probably too long, but Nick Saban's, I think, more on top of his game than Bobby Bowden probably was. I think Bobby Bowden was just, a figurehead by the end. Deion will coach college until his boys are finished and he'll move to the NFL after he wins a national title. If you think he's winning a national title at Colorado, I don't think it'll happen. Overreaction number 1, CA. He'll get this. Listen, and here's the thing. When I say they win 6 games in the Pac-12 this year, or overall 6-6, that's a pretty good step up for Colorado because they haven't won 6 games, but a handful of times in the last 20 years. And I got to tell you, I'm also not rooting for Dan. I'm not rooting against him. But I'm not rooting for him because, I don't want to see this model where guys come in and just kick scholarship kids out, and bring in 86 new kids. He'll be 72 so I guess I'd be right. He's 71. March 7. I would say I was 72 by now. As viewers know, I've been 63 since January, but officially turned 63 on 15th of August. Bobby Bowden was I do believe he was at least 80. I don't see Saban coaching until he's 80. I don't see him coaching until he's 80. 75, 76. Maybe he'll go farther. Why go? Why quit? This life. Tricky Nicky is Tricky Nicky. Don't be disparaging to Mr. What's his name? Saban. I will say one more time. Until Kirby Smart wins a bunch more national championships, and it'll be much, if he does what I think, and again, history setting, keep hearing Minnesota, and Minnesota did win 3 in a row, but it was interrupted by World War II. This would be history making if they do a 3-peat. It's still not going to make Kirby Smart the best coach of all time. Not yet. That's Nick Saban. It was Paul Bryant. Now it's Nick Saban. And you haven't really mentioned your LSU team yet, John DeLon. I'm a little surprised. Just Googled. Bowden was 80 when he retired. Okay. I'm pretty close. I think I said 80. But I don't know. God, my mind is like Swiss cheese. Don't worry, there's only one prime time. There is only one prime time. And by the way, you're 2 different guys. He is riding this indignation wave quite a ways. It's going to be hard. What's he going to do once the press is on his side? What's he going to do when they're 3-0 and everybody's saying they're going to go 12-2? Well, they're not going 12-2. They're just not. Sorry, Rick, I'm going to have to jump into I got to jump into the Colorado schedule first. Let's just say they win. They beat Nebraska, which, again, I think Nebraska will have a chance against Colorado. I really do. I think this will be a little bit different football game. Colorado State, I'll give them 3-0. They're losing their next two. They'll be 3-2. They're going to lose Oregon. They're going to lose to USC. Arizona State, at Arizona State, I think they lose 3-3. Stanford, 4-3. At UCLA, 4-4. They're going to lose Oregon State. That's 4-5. They'll beat Arizona. That's 5-5. And I think they'll split Washington State and Utah, 6-6. Not that hard. That's where I see them going here. And I'll go to Georgia's schedule here in a second because I do want to take a quick look at it. Rick said they got one test in Tennessee. Oh, where are we? He's still waiting for LSU. By the way, Brian Kelly's got to shut up. You don't need to give teams bulletin board material when they're already amped up to beat your ass. There's not much to say about the game. This is true. The Tigers couldn't get any push off the Noles defensive tackles, and our wide receivers couldn't take the top off their secondary, and our DBs were just sad. I agree with every one of those points. Florida State played a great second half. Great second half. And if they play that way, now again, no overreactions. If they play that way, it's going to be a little rough for, hang on, I got a text that might be from Jim Berry. He'll be there in 5 or 10, and that was at 7:30. So he'll be here in a few minutes. If Florida State didn't make so many mistakes in the first half, it would have been a real blowout. They did play. Listen, they had a really good first drive, or I think it was first drive, and then they really fell backwards for the rest of the half. They struggled badly, shot themselves in the foot, bad passes. They just looked out of sync, and whatever kicked in at halftime, God bless them. They did a great job. Let's take a quick look at Rick's Georgia team before, and I want to talk to Jim Beringer about Georgia, whether he feels like I do, what his thoughts are on this potential three-peat, if I can find Georgia. Here's their schedule, Rick. Ball State, South Carolina, no problem. They're at home against South Carolina, won't be a problem. The UAB, at Auburn. I got to see Auburn. I'm interested in seeing Auburn against Auburn playing this week. I made a note here somewhere. They play Cal. Yeah, Hugh Freeze's. I'm interested to see how good a start Auburn gets off to. They still don't have the elite athletes. They got a good coach, though, and we'll see how that goes. But that could be an interesting test. Kentucky, they get at home. At Vanderbilt, no problem. Florida stinks. Missouri. Ole Miss, they get at home. Tennessee's on the road. You might be right, Rick. I mean, to me, if I'm looking for them to hiccup, it could be at Auburn, depending on how Coach Freeze is successful in changing some culture quickly at Auburn. Maybe Kentucky. You know how I feel about Coach Stoops, and Leary played really well last week at quarterback. They could scare him a little bit too, but you're right. It looks to me like Georgia's got an easy path to their division championship. Gentlemen, I don't know. I looked like we needed to run more comeback routes because the Noles were playing not to give up big plays against their passing game. Not sure it would have made a difference, though. Well, you know, I will say this. If adjustments at halftime are a real thing, and it's always debatable whether, you know, this is as big a deal as some of the announcers make it out to be, Coach Kelly didn't do a very good job of making adjustments at halftime. And again, I just think he needs to be quiet. Don't fire up teams. You've got a good football team. Just go out there and play the games. And that's not usually Brian Kelly's style. I mean, what else do you take away from this week? Other than the fact that Spectrum and Disney ought to be freaking taken out and flogged. You know what? And I was told this too. So I called. You're going to get these little rants throughout the week. I called ESPN or customer service for my ESPN Plus account. And they said, one of the things that we want to get out of this is that we want to be able to sell direct to, because I had a conversation with the guy. I didn't care. We want to be able to sell direct. We want to get away from TV providers like Charter. We're trying to rectify the situation. But at the end of the day, someday you'll just be able to buy all of this content directly from Disney, directly from ESPN, however you want to phrase it. And I said, wait a minute. I do. This ESPN app, I buy directly from you. And it's useless. You're already getting my money. So you're stealing from me by not giving content to Charter / Spectrum, who's charging me for that content. And then I'm paying you $6.99 more a month for the Plus that I'm also not getting anything at. Oh, I got plenty of Premier League soccer. Yeah. These rants just aren't going to go away. What other news is going on around the NCAA before I jump into Caleb Williams' father said that he's not a lock to leave USC after this year. I'm sorry, but he is. He says he's not a lock to go. He could stay. If he has a season like he had last year, he's going to be the number one pick. He's not staying in school. Not if all you can do is go backwards. LSU will get a little bit of a boost with Mason Smith returning for his season debut against Grambling. Their start defensive tackle will be back. He couldn't play the first game Saturday. He's expected to play about 30 snaps. I wouldn't want to be Grambling this week, right, John? Just saying. Oh, what do we got here? The Buffs get to a bowl game. 6-6 get you to a bowl game, by the way. I think Mad New Yorker mentioned it as well when Deanne went to CEO. In his heart, he wants a national title from agreed. I probably said that. Carlos could have said it. But I said all along, he wouldn't be in Colorado right now if Mike Norvell had not turned things around last year at Florida State. He'd be in Tallahassee right now if Mike Norvell had not turned the tables last year. I think it's a little bit of an overreach with Colorado jumping into the top 25 this week. I mean, they beat TCU, and I know TCU was ranked, and I know the game was on the road, but this game, and again, I don't want to take anything away from Colorado. They played well. If they win 6 games, it's good. There's one of them. But this is as much of an indictment on TCU as it is of Colorado being better than we thought. Nobody gets ESPN anymore for the opinion shows. I want the games. I don't need anything else. Yeah, I will disagree on one thing. I don't watch the opinion. I never watch the opinion shows. Paul Feinbaum's the only guy I watch because I like the SEC so much. Wink. But there's a lot of great content on ESPN Plus. You can watch all the 30 for 30s. There's a ton of great documentaries, plus a plethora of games that you're not going to see anywhere else. And I want it back, and I want to stop being ripped off. To watch SportsCenter, you couldn't make me watch SportsCenter. You couldn't make me watch Pardon the Interruption still a little bit. I was always a Tony Kornheiser fan, but TCU players talking about their loss. That's it. I mean, look, we just touched on a lot of the big stories, and we'll get a little more into it now with Jim Beringer. Let me get one more comment here. I won't find out until the Ducks game, but you'll find out, by the way, because they will get killed. Their defense, especially their run defense, I don't think is very good. And they'll find out. We'll find out against the Ducks and USC back to back. We'll bring in somebody who I know was very happy about this Colorado game. He was I don't know if he was excited about the game or the win for Colorado as much, but we'll bring in you, Mr. Jim Beringer from Let's Talk Sports. How are you, Jim?
Hey, what's going on, Keith? How we doing, buddy?
Well, we've been kind of reviewing last week's slate of top 25 games anyway. And there was a couple games, by the way, I didn't mention, and I will before I get into it, Jim. I called, besides the Duke, I didn't call it necessarily the upset. I said they would.
You hedged it.
I did hedge my bet a little, but I did bet Duke with the points, but I did not expect them to win the game. I did say Wyoming would have the ball with 2 minutes to play and a chance to win the game, and they win the game in overtime. So I got to pat myself on the back a little bit there and take the sting away from picking TCU as my best bet last week. So I can pick a few games, just don't pick favorites. So I know you were excited. Are you frozen or are you just staring?
No, I'm just here. I'm just staring.
Okay.
I'm waiting for you to finish.
I got to tell you, I got a boss that does that to me. We'll be talking and he'll stare like I think he froze and he's waiting for me to go.
No, I'm just waiting for you to finish your thought. That's what I'm like. That's because I'm kind of in host mode. Because I did a podcast today. Had a 16-year NHL veteran on my Full Press NHL podcast today. So. Cool. A lot of fun stories here, but no, I mean, look, we discussed it Sunday. Initial reaction, overreaction Sunday, I guess. Now you get to marinate it a little bit. Look, Dion is Dion, and he's gonna bring something to Colorado that they haven't had in a while. They're probably gonna win more than 3 games, something they haven't done in a long time. They'll probably go to a bowl game, something they haven't done in a long time. They're not winning the Pac-12.
All good.
That's all good. That's a good thing. You're getting players noticed at a place where you became, after you left the Big 12, you kind of became irrelevant, like Nebraska left the Big 12 and became irrelevant in the Big 10.
Exactly the same way. They've had, I think, like 3 winning seasons, I think, since they left the Big 12.
Yeah.
So, and yes, look, and I go through the schedule, and I only find 6 wins. I just can't find more than 6 wins.
They made, real quick, I know you went through the schedule already, but I mean, you look at it, like Oregon, USC back-to-back, they should be 3-0 when they play Oregon. Like they should be, right? I mean.
They should be 3-0, yes. Nebraska, I think, might give them a tussle this week. Just maybe a letdown. We'll see.
You got to back it up at home game, but Nebraska to me is not that strong of a team that could really challenge him.
Again, I gotta have more than one game to really judge Colorado.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, what they're doing, it's great, but they got all right. So you got Nebraska, Colorado State. You should be 3-0. Then you go to Eugene. That's a tough game to play. You got USC at home. Look, you mentioned Colorado's defense. Again, until USC's defense plays somebody, they have question marks too. That could be another shootout. So you never know. If Colorado has the ball last play, you never know with them. They should beat Arizona State, Stanford. UCLA will be tough. Oregon State, they should beat them. Arizona, they can beat them. The Washington State going to be a loss, and Utah going to be a loss.
6 wins.
6 wins. That'll get you a bowl game.
Yeah. No, yeah, 6 wins is definitely a bowl game today. I mean, hell, there's 90 bowl games, so they can't.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
They can't even fill all the spots. And by the way, I don't say this to demean Sanders or Colorado, because nobody expected them to do better than 6 wins. Everybody has said in the beginning that 6 wins would be great. Now I'm in the chat rooms and I'm like, I see Colorado will be 10-2. They'll be blah, blah, blah. We stop.
They got to run. Look, I know everybody wants to talk about, how make fun of the Pac-12 after dark, this and that, the whole thing. Who was the only conference in week 1 that went 13-0?
Said at the top of the show, only one conference without a loss.
Pac-12.
Now, I know a lot of the matches were a little weak, but so what? Doesn't matter.
So Colorado beat a good TCU team.
Exactly. And by the way, before the SEC guys get up in my arms about who they played, please, we're out there playing.
Please. Yeah, exactly. I don't want to hear nothing, not for nothing. Like Georgia fans, I really don't want you. I don't want to hear you at me or come at me about schedules because you play nobody until the championship game.
SEC had 2, and now we found out why SEC teams don't schedule out of conference games on the road against ranked teams. We found out this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Because look, it's gonna the big game this week. Obviously, I actually did a column for Full Press coverage. Looking at my games of the week, it'll be out probably tomorrow. Number 1 is obviously Texas and Alabama. That's the game of the week for me.
Yep.
Again, is Quinn Ewers going to go in there and light it up? I don't know. He was pretty good last year before he got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
There's questions around Alabama's quarterback. They always have star power. But again, to me, you never write Nick Saban out until they don't have a winning season.
That is the game of the week. And, Steve Scarsazian, to me, really needs to go into Alabama and win this game. This is a bigger game for Texas than Alabama.
He ain't winning this game. I'm telling you that right now. He ain't winning this game.
I don't think so either. But this is a bigger game for Texas than it is for Alabama, I think.
It is. And the thing is, he says in all the right things. We're learning how to do what Alabama does, the prep work, all this. Nick Saban don't lose against assistants.
Oklahoma king of the cupcakes. Gentlemen, not NFL Live. I'm NFL Matchup. I don't know what that. I think he was talking about some of the shows on ESPN that we aren't missing. But
NFL Matchup was a good show, by the way.
It was. But all those shows, I was bitching about not having ESPN again. I've been going on about Disney and the fact that, I don't know if you heard me, I talked to Disney/ESPN about my ESPN Plus account.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons they're having this dispute is the fact that Disney wants to be able to sell their product directly to the consumer like me. They don't want to go through a TV provider. And I said, I am paying you directly for ESPN Plus. I play it to you, not to Spectrum. And I have no games on my phone. I'm sorry, Premier Soccer I did have. Last Saturday, I have nothing against soccer. I was not interested in watching Premier Soccer.
I want to watch football. It's college football season. It's not. It's not soccer season. Like let's be honest, football season. And look,
or I'll never. My shows will be all about this if I don't stop.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, look, Saban against assistants, Saban at home, Alabama at home. For some reason, they play better in Tuscaloosa than they do on the road in these big games. I mean, look, I know Milrose is going to be a question mark. Ewers is good, but I just think Alabama at home is just a better team than Texas right now.
I want to remind Jim on this show that we have quite a few. The king of the emperor, or whatever John wants to be called, of SEC elitists is John DeLon. So he was, and he's an LSU fan. He was very contrite that his team stunk the other night.
They got stunk. They were awful.
By the way, Brian Kelly, shut up. Why are you talking about you're going to stomp them? That was it. I'm paraphrasing, but just be quiet.
The whole game changed when you didn't stop the kid on 4th and 2. Then you had the interception, and that was a 14-point swing, and the game was over.
And Florida State didn't play well in the first half.
They did not. And LSU had too many turnovers in the red zone. To me, the turning point of this game, go back to it. End of the first half, Florida State stops them, only holds them to a field goal. If Florida State gets if LSU gets a touchdown, that's a different game.
Impressive bike ride the other day, apparently you had.
Right, that's right, baby. Let's go.
Rick, are you stalking Jim again?
Yeah, he is. I think so. I think he's stalking me.
I know
problems here.
I know he's not riding with you. I know that.
No way. No chance he's riding. Unless he's got a drone following me. I don't know.
Before I want to get into this week's top 25 games. We'll go through the slate and pick some winners. It's going to be pretty quick. There's some still pretty bad games.
There's some blowouts this week.
But I'm going to want an upset from you as well. But before I do that, on this show, I have predicted my final, and I think I told you on Sunday, and I'll go through it again. I have Georgia, Ohio State, Florida State, and Oklahoma getting to the Final Four, and I have Georgia three-peating. First time, whether it's the first time in history or you want to count Minnesota's.
You count Minnesota. You count it.
Well, they got interrupted by World War II, so you got to count it. I agree.
You count it. You count it. It's in the record book.
It's still the only time it's ever been done.
Right, ever.
So, and that was about 80 years ago. So
yeah, exactly. Well, USC had a chance to do it, but
Well, there's been 13 chances since then. I went through them last week on the show. I went through all the other chances, 13 other opportunities, and they all failed. The last one was USC,
and they were the closest. If they converted 4th and 2, that's it.
Yeah. We just looked at Georgia's schedule, which was much easier than I actually even thought it was in their division. You give them a decent chance to three-peat.
I don't see why not.
Will you predict they will three-peat? I have done it.
No, I don't think they're going to three-peat.
Who's your winner? Who's your Final Four this year?
I don't know. I mean, it's so early. Could change.
Well, we all have to pick early. We can't watch 6 games, Jim. Come on.
Technically, you can, right? You can watch 6 games.
Well,
committee does it.
Carlos, the Mad New Yorker, is going to wait till 10 games are played. Then he'll tell me this is who we picked for the Final Four. Where I got them written down.
I mean, Georgia will be there. Michigan will be there. I think Florida State will somehow get there.
I like Florida State a lot. That's not an overreaction. That was from before.
No, that's not an overreaction. I think they'll get there. They have to be undefeated to get there.
Probably, yes.
And I'm going to throw Ohio State. I think the Big Ten gets 2 teams back in again.
There you go. I like Ohio State, too. Yeah, Florida State, by the way, before the season, I thought they could get there with 1 loss, but that would have been only if them and Clemson got to their game.
Yeah.
If Clemson was good and they lost to Clemson in the regular season and rebounded and beat them in the championship.
I got an issue with again. Look, I know you're not supposed to react to these top 25 polls, whatever, because they don't mean nothing. I'm sorry, but Iowa should be 25. They won.
Yeah, I wouldn't drop them out to bring in. Who'd they drop? Who jumped in?
They dropped Iowa and they left Clemson in after that loss.
Well, I mean, the 2 teams that jumped in were Duke and Colorado. Colorado, I would not have moved in the top 25 after this game. I would not have.
They were going in. It was Dion. You knew they were going in.
I think Duke belonged in the top 25 to begin.
I think Duke belonged in there too, and I think Iowa deserves to be in there. Yeah. You won.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not for nothing, but LSU lost, and I mean they only dropped like 7 spots.
LSU dropped to number 14, 9 spots.
It's 9 spots. So, I mean, Clemson, it doesn't matter.
Clemson with a huge drop, 16 spots all the way to 20.
They should be out, baby, out.
I would say they could have dropped out easily, for sure.
Easily drop out.
But, right now you got a Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, Florida State. Alabama, overrated this year or not?
I don't think so. I think they're actually rated where they need to be because there's a lot of questions about them. The quarterback being the biggest one of them, right?
Their quarterback situation is worse than Ohio State's, I think.
Yeah.
Just the fact they brought Buckner in there to compete for the job is an indictment enough.
So, I mean,
what?
And the only reason Ohio State dropped is because they didn't have style points.
I'm not sure about this comment, by the way, John. You're going to have to prove this one to me. I'm not buying that one for a second. The game turned off 2 seconds before the Utah-Florida kickoff. I'm not. They had a chance to do that. We'll like that.
I will say, going through this, I like the fact that they only kept Notre Dame at 10 because they know that they didn't play anybody.
Yeah, actually, they moved up 3, but they didn't move. They didn't make some major jump. So
they didn't go into the top 10. I mean, they did, but they didn't go a big jump.
Now, the major jumps this week were Florida State up 4, and then the teams that jumped into the top 25, Duke and Colorado.
Yep.
Iowa State, by the way, another interesting, or Iowa State this weekend. That's a pretty good match.
Should be a good game, actually.
Too. Kurt Friend's son, whose first name is escaping me, has a very interesting contract this year. He was a source of a lot of controversy in Iowa last year. He needs to average both. He needs to average 25 points a game and win 7 games to keep his job this year.
Where, in Iowa State?
At Iowa. Kurt Friend's son is the offensive coordinator and took a lot of fire last year for their offense, which is, something out of the 1900s.
Hey, well, they got a quarterback now.
He played well. They still only scored 24 points, though, against a team they really need to run it up on if he's going to average 25 points with this team. Let me tell you.
I mean, but the problem is the Big Ten is not. I mean, outside of Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, and even them, the Big Ten's a running conference. Luke Fickell's changing that in Wisconsin right now, but they still can run the ball.
Yeah, they're going to throw the ball a lot. It's going to be interesting because he brought in an air raid guy in Longo to be his offensive coordinator, and that's going to be you see how that goes at 20 degrees in Camp Randall. And
yeah, exactly.
I don't know what to think of that. What do you got here, John? You dropped LSU from your playoff list, which, well, you should. And now I'm going with Georgia, Florida State, Penn State, because we know they'll beat Michigan and Ohio State. They never do. Fun fact, this year's Penn State has a bye week, then plays a cupcake before they play Ohio State. Well, I don't know if that's good or bad, but they better win. They better beat both Michigan and Ohio State if they're going to get to the playoffs.
And the year that they didn't even get in.
I think Duke will play a New Year's Day bowl game this year, CA myself. Duke's going to win 10. Damn it, I had them winning 9 games and not beating Clemson. They may win 10.
I think they can win 10 games this year. Absolutely.
I like that.
Why not?
Good head coach, a good quarterback. That kid is gutsy. I like the way he plays the game. Moxie.
I love it.
Let's go through the top 25 quickly here, Jim. Easies. There's some easy ones. Well, this one's not a bad game. Notre Dame at North Carolina State. North Carolina.
On the up, yo, and Notre Dame upset alert. Better be ready.
Watch it.
Sam Hartman 1-2. Notre Dame 1-2 against NC State. I would be on the lookout for that. I would just. He's thrown 6. He's thrown 6 interceptions. Yes, he has 6 touchdowns, but he's been sacked. Hartman's been sacked 13 times when he was playing against NC State. So, just a fun tidbit.
I'm going to take Notre Dame in this game, but
I think I'm going to take Notre Dame too, but they better be careful.
And how come I got this? They must have moved that. Oh, they're 23. Texas A&M against our Miami Hurricanes. I will say upset alert here. My upset of the week: Miami takes down Texas A&M. I think
Miami beats Texas A&M too.
There we go. We're on the same page. That means they'll get beat for sure.
Yeah, they'll definitely get beat, but for sure.
Ball State and Georgia, no problem there for
Georgia. Bye. That's a win.
Youngstown State and Ohio State.
Win. Ohio State, baby, all day.
I can play quarterback in that game and we'll be all right.
Yep.
Delaware goes to Penn State.
Penn State, that's a win. Lock it up.
Utah, Baylor. Baylor with a horrible loss last week to Texas State.
Utah's going in and winning.
Utah should win this game on the road. Troy and Kansas State. sneaky good team, Troy. Be careful, Kansas State.
Kansas State should win this game, but I don't think they covered a 16.5.
This will be a close game. I agree. Nebraska, Colorado.
Colorado.
Give Prime another win here. Charleston Southern at Clemson.
Clemson better win this game.
They better win this game by about 45. UNLV and Michigan. Michigan wins. Doesn't matter who coaches.
Nope, doesn't matter.
Send a Mad New Yorker out there to coach. He'll be all right. Ole Miss and Tulane. Sneaky.
This is a nice game. This is a sneaky good game this week. I like this game. This is on my top 5 games of the week.
I think Tulane wins this game at home.
I think Tulane wins too. Tulane wins and covers.
Yes, and my SEC people know how much I love Lane Kiffin. I am picking against Lane Kiffin. They all hate him. I love him. Tulsa goes to Washington. I think it'll be another beat down. Washington.
That should be Washington should win.
They beat a pretty good Boise State team up.
Yeah, and they beat them bad too. That was a blowout.
Speaking of the Mad New Yorker and Robert Butler as well, Austin P grads, they get Tennessee this week.
Tennessee, big time win again.
Big win for Milton and Tennessee. Appalachian State always looking for upsets.
This could be upset. This could be upset alert.
North Carolina with a good showing last week. Let's see if
the defense can do it again.
If they do it 2 games in a row, I'll believe that Gene Chizik might have that turned around. I'll take North Carolina here, but be careful with Appalachian State.
I take North Carolina to win, App State to cover the 18.
There you go. That's a good call. Oklahoma at home against SMU. Oklahoma wins big last week against North Prairie University. Or whoever.
Doesn't matter.
I think SMU. Listen, Oklahoma's going to win this game, but
Oklahoma's winning this game.
Maybe we'll keep it closer than you think. Duke will rout Lafayette.
They better rout Lafayette.
No letdowns here, I hope. Texas, Alabama. I think
Alabama, Roll Tide all day
on this game as well. Texas Tech and Oregon.
Oregon goes in and win.
I think you're right. Texas Tech was a very chic pick as a dark horse, both in the Big 12 and potentially nationally.
I don't know who was picking them. It wasn't me.
It wasn't me either, and I had them losing, or I had them potentially losing, and Wyoming did win that game. LSU will probably get healthy this week against Grambling, I would say.
Yep.
I think another interesting game, another sneaky good game. Luke Fickell takes Wisconsin to Wazoo.
Luke Fickell and those Badgers better be on upset alert because it is tough to play in that building.
It's going to be interesting seeing 2 air raid offenses play against each other here too, because there's.
I think Washington goes in and wins, but again, I mean, look, I don't want to sound like Mike Francesa, but I would not be surprised if Washington State wins.
Florida State gets a Southern Miss. Don't let down here, Thomas.
Florida State should cover the 30 in this game.
Agreed. Oregon State, sneaky good. 16 might be too low for this team. This team's got an outside chance of winning that Pac-12. They're really, really good.
DJ's looking good in a different offense, I'll tell you that.
Played well the other night. They'll kill UC Davis at home. And USC gets a 3rd bye week in a row with Stanford.
Well, again, USC should win. I want to see what this defense does, but it's not going to matter because Stanford's not any good.
9 touchdowns already for Caleb Williams. His father says
big deal.
His father today said not a sure thing he'll be going to the NFL next year. I think
he'll be going to the NFL next year. He's not passing up $60 million. Okay.
He's not going to take a chance. He's got nothing to gain by going back for sure. Let me get to a couple comments before we do. Where are we here? Oh God! How come
no?
John DeLong. Who's that? People say a nice bowl game. We saw that. Whereas Ohio State has to play Purdue the week before. We saw that. Okay. I think 11-1 Penn State makes the playoff if there's a Pac-12 champ with 2 or more losses. Pac-12 can't win they can't get to a playoff with 2 losses, which I think will happen. I think those teams are going to be.
But Penn State's not going 11-1, so it doesn't matter.
Well, yes, that point is also accurate, but I do think the Pac-12 will not get a team in because the league is really good at the top.
Utah, Washington, Oregon State, Oregon, USC, Washington State. Like you go. the only way the Pac-12 gets a team in, and I will say it right now, one of them has to run the table, and that's it. That's what's got to happen.
Yeah, and I don't see anybody doing it, actually. I really
Neither
don't.
do I. I don't think anybody's going to do it either.
Washington, to me, right now, is the best team in that conference. We'll see. If there's somebody's going to go undefeated, I think it will be them.
Yeah.
John DeLong really likes Colorado -3. It's at Nebraska, isn't it?
No, it's at home.
Is it at Colorado? Okay, I like that
Yeah.
line prep too. Keep in mind, I'm a degenerate gambler who lost $127 on the LSU Florida State game. By the way, that's an interesting number. How do you lose $127, John? I'm kind of lost.
Usually it's round numbers.
Texas State second to CU in portal transfers. Good catch there. CA didn't work as well for them as it did the Buffs. Tulane might be a bigger, stronger, faster than Ole Miss. I think they probably are at this point.
Yeah, me too.
Football team. They had a great season.
I like the green wave. Oh, so okay, real quick. Okay, so I saw this on Twitter today. It's the same chatter we get every year. Someone put this up, right? Somebody's like, if Tulane beats Ole Miss and finishes the season undefeated, do they deserve a spot in college football playoff? It doesn't matter if they run the table. It doesn't matter whatever happens. This is the same argument I had for Coastal Carolina, for Cincinnati, for all these other teams that did this. It doesn't matter what their record is because they're always behind the 8 ball because they will be ranked by the committee. There would be a disrespectful rank for them to have to climb up to get into the playoff, which they'll have no shot to get at anyway. The committee had no choice with Cincinnati because they just put 2 good seasons back to back. So you couldn't do it again. Tulane will be behind the 8 ball. Look, they should be higher than 24, but they're not.
Absolutely. They got almost their entire core is back from a team who won a Cotton Bowl last year. I agree.
So that's the only reason they don't get in the playoff. Next year they'll be there if they have another good team or whoever that's coming out of that conference as a great team. They'll be there because of the automatic bid.
Yeah, the AAC, the Mountain West have got much better chances of getting their conference winners into the 12-team playoff than they ever had for sure anywhere else.
Right.
Tulane might be the most physically imposing G5 team. I don't disagree with that at all.
Wyoming Cowboys, baby, let's go.
I know who they got this week. I'll take them anyway. LSU gambling game isn't on the books. Really? Oh, it's got to be like you can bet on DraftKings, no?
Yeah, probably.
I'll take your action. Let me know what it is, John. We'll talk after the show.
Are we talking Yankees?
Marcy just made his way into the college football show. That's how good he is. He's going to dominate too. -127. I see. All right. You're trying to win a bill. I got you. So you had to lay $127 on the money line. Man, that's that.
Man.
Well, whatever. It's better than laying.
That's a tough bet to make.
But he did make money playing poker that day, so we don't feel sorry for any more, John.
No, I don't feel sorry for him.
So best bet?
Best bet winner or just like best bet?
Best bet. Just a winner.
Just a winner?
Take one of the teams that is a 50-point favorite like Georgia.
No. Let me
of the better games, give me your best bet.
All right, let's see. Let's go. Let's see let's see what else is on the schedule this week. Sorry.
Wild card while you're looking at it. So
let me look it through the schedule. Oh, sneaky good. Okay. I got one for you.
Best bet.
Let's go with. There's actually some good games in the Pac-12. In the Big 12 this week. Kansas and Illinois. It's a Big 12, Big 10 matchup, but that's a really good game.
That's a good game out of the top 25 for sure.
That's out of the top 25. Let's go with this. Okay, here we go. Upset alert. Iowa State at home. Plus the 4 against Iowa.
That's a good one. That's your upset. Who's your favorite best bet? Or is that your best bet?
That's my upset. That's my wild card. I was trying to dig. I was digging deep in the. I was digging deep in the in the schedule to find it because I remember seeing it. So I will say, best bet Utah covers the 8.
That's a good
on
one.
the road.
My best
it's not
bet.
too big. It's not too small.
Yep.
It's just right.
So my best bet will be Boise State rebounding on the blue field against UCF. And what would
That's
be
a good one.
It won't be a conference game next year. I shouldn't say that. Boise State's still stuck in the Mountain West. I like Boise State, and my upset, I've already said the Hurricanes of Miami knock off Jimbo and put him right back on the hot seat.
Well, I will say, John's right. There is no line for the LSU Grambling game.
Interesting. Well, that's probably because Grambly's at FBS1, I suppose. But
yeah,
maybe, you know.
Yes, NC State is +7, plus 7.5. So,
that's NC State might be worth a little wager at home.
NC State plus 7.5 at home. That's worth the wager. That's worth the wager.
Game.
And I said it. I'll say it before. I know Wisconsin's favored by 6. I think Washington State keeps it close. I think they keep it a 3-point game.
What else you got for us, Jim, before we let you out of here?
I mean, week 1 college football's in the books. We're ready to rock and roll. Week 2, we're getting closer and closer to actual conference games that matter. A lot of ranked versus ranked. Look, every week Colorado plays. Every week, everybody's going to want to watch the seed. That's what it's going to be like all season. When we shouldn't put them in the championship talk because they're not getting there. The Notre Dame train, let's pump the brakes on the Notre Dame train. They played a bunch of nobodies. And let's taper the overreaction on Ohio State. They always struggle in Indiana. New quarterback. Let's see what they get this week. They get back in rhythm. But they'll be fine. Michigan will be fine, and the Big Ten will be what the Big Ten is. And look at it, I think the Pac-12 is going to be a better conference than a lot of people think it's going to be, and it's a shame that it's going away.
I've made it now 43 minutes into the show, and John DeLon has not made a disparaging remark about the Pac-12, which I'm sure he's about to do right now.
He's about to do it.
Jim, thanks for coming in tonight. Always great to have you. We can't wait to review this stuff, and we'll have you on next week and see how we did.
Yeah, absolutely. Tide's beating Texas big time.
Big time. I'm sorry, Steve.
Big time.
Another prediction I'll give you. Steve Scarsagian never gets a chance to coach it in the SEC because he will not be there when Texas gets there next year.
No, and that's the problem with Texas.
Yes. Absolutely. Always overrated. All right, Jim. Thanks for having me. Thanks for being here. Enjoy the rest of your night, buddy.
Hey, absolutely. Oh, guy, always a pleasure being here. College football's here, guys. Enjoy it. Lots of stuff coming. Check this man out. He does a good job. So do it. And I'm glad to be here every Wednesday, Sundays when we kick things off. But always a pleasure. NFL's back tomorrow. One more sleep. Got college football this weekend. Glued to the television. Guys, always a pleasure. Have a great night. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Careful on the roads there with that bike. Bye-bye.
You know it. Bye.
Bye. The great Jim Beringer. Jim was having a little phone issue or a little internet connection issue. That's probably why I thought he froze that time, because I think he did. He was talking there. I wasn't throwing my voice or anything. I promise you. So, John, let's see. I'm pretty sure. Let's get some comments, and we'll talk about a couple other games maybe before we get out of here. Yeah, again, just to comment on this myself, I'm a little surprised that North Carolina is getting 7.5 at home. I like Notre Dame to win this game. I may have to put a little wager on NC State. Not sure. Texas A&M Aggies. I don't. I know you're a Texas guy, CA. I'm not believing in Bobby Petrino and Jimbo and the great marriage they got going on. I think my Hurricanes. This could be a heart bet. I think Marco Cristobal gets this team up and ready to play. I think the Hurricanes have a better year than people might think they might have, and I think they give Texas A&M all they can handle on Saturday. Michigan is minus 20,000 on the money line against UNLV. So I got to lay I got to lay $20,000 to win 100. That can't be right. Is that really right? You want to launder some money? You're right. That's a great place to do it, John. Oh, God, guys. What's going on? What didn't we do today? Jeez, I got Jim on and we got talking about so much stuff. What didn't we cover? Let me look at, I usually find some good stuff when I look at the mailbag here. Let's take a quick look. Is Clemson in trouble, by the way? What are the storylines will be? Clemson will bounce back this week. Florida State will not make it with unless they're undefeated because of this Clemson loss the other night. In my mind, that probably cost them any shot of having a loss and getting into the playoff. In my mind, so I wanted to look at some of the other games besides some of the games that I had written down. We talked a little bit about Illinois and Kansas. I think that's a sneaky good game. I like the Jayhawks here. They've got the quarterback back. Illinois made leaps and bounds, I think, last year under Brett Bleeman. He's done a good job, but I think they're going to have a tough time at Kansas this week. Purdue with a horrible loss at home. A good Fresno State team. And again, that Mountain West is underrated. And I think the Pac-12 and the Pac-2 that'll be left ought to, instead of just going to the Mountain West, ought to try to get the better teams in the Mountain West and maybe a couple of the better teams from the AAC and keep the the Pac-12 name and logo alive. There's some value to that. So James Madison in Virginia, I think, is a sneaky good game. James Madison, only their second year, I believe, here in FBS 1, still not eligible for a bowl game. We talked about Iowa State. I like Iowa State in that game as well. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, I'm just not feeling. I think Pittsburgh will win this game because I think Cincinnati's going to take a pretty major step backwards this year. I already talked about Boise State and UCF. I think Boise State bounces back this week at home and gets a win. UCLA at San Diego State. You be careful, UCLA. This is a dangerous game for you. Auburn goes to Cal. Should not be a problem for Auburn, I don't think, other than the fact that they're traveling across the country. I'm interested in seeing this Hugh Freeze team in a few weeks against Georgia as well. Oklahoma State goes to, where do they go? I can't read what the hell I wrote down. That is hilarious. Arizona State, I think. I could probably find it if I just look at the schedule. Mike Gundy, one of my boys. Let's see what I can find here. Big 12. Who the hell are they playing? Can't read my own writing. Isn't that sad? Yeah, at Arizona State. I think Arizona State's a mess. Oklahoma State gets this win, I think, for fun. And lastly, UAlbany, as I said, not Albany, Georgia, but Albany, New York, goes to Hawaii without their head coach. I'm going to call a major upset. And FBS, not FBS 1, Albany beats Hawaii at Hawaii. Lots of distractions, but I think Hawaii, who lost at Marshall last year they went to play Baylor, so they're going to getting some paydays. This is not a great Hawaii team. They did give Vanderbilt a tough time, if that's any indication. I don't think it is. Let's see what else we got here. Yay! We got that one. I like Oklahoma minus 15.5. I said SMU might keep this close. I may like Oklahoma. I got to look at that game closer. Oklahoma needs to win these games big. For them to get to the playoff like I predicted, they need to go undefeated in the Big 12, which will be a difficult task, and they need to beat some of these teams at home by a lot. Brett Venable underperformed. This team underperformed last year, going 6-7 that's not 6-7 talent that was on that team. They need to right this ship. They need to get some momentum built as they get into the heart of their Big 12 schedule. Depending on LSU, if they rebound with some big wins, that could make a difference as well for Florida State. That's a good point, CA. LSU can certainly help Florida State's chances here by playing well the rest of the way. Another loss by LSU hurts, and they're going to lose in the SEC. They're not going to go undefeated in the SEC. So could be, again, Florida State got to run the table. John DeLon likes Oregon money line versus Texas Tech. That's on the road. That's a tough game. I wouldn't bet Oregon laying points. Money line, maybe. I like that. Bama money line versus Texas. I would agree with that. And Wisconsin money line. I'm not picking Wisconsin to beat the Wazoo in this game. I like Washington State at home. So that'll be an upset special to watch out for. Not saying I'll bet all of these, but I'm definitely eyeing them and thinking about it. Those are good games. I mean, as I told you before, I've given you the games that I'm very interested in this weekend, and I'm likely to consider playing. I'm considering definitely Boise State. That could be a money line bet too. On the cigar box, we can't bet money lines, but we'll lay points. I'll probably bet 3 college games, 3 NFL games. I'll probably post them to the site just so that I can tell you. It takes a little bit more for me to get there as far as who I actually bet. I don't always bet the teams that I will predict today. But I do like Iowa State getting 4 at home. I do like NC State right now getting 7.5 at home. Although Notre Dame has looked pretty good. I do think they'll win this game. I'm just thinking it might be a touchdown or less. What else we got going here? Did I miss some news or didn't I? I think I covered all the news. How worried do LSU fans need to be? Seem like classic Brian Kelly, not making adjustments, questionable 4th down play calls, and having no answer for Jordan Travis. Colorado performance was impressive, but it was one game against a team that isn't close to what it was last year. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Doesn't it seem like people are overreacting to this? We've already talked about it. Listen, there's not a lot of Heisman talk yet about the young Mr. Sanders. But listen, Caleb Williams, Sam Hartman, this is going to be a quarterback class again, sitting on the dais up there, waiting to get their Heisman Trophy most likely this year. Maybe a 5-team parlay for John. Colorado -3. Oklahoma -15, and some money line games. You know what I like to do in these money line, if I'm going to bet a parlay, and I won't bet a lot on parlays because it takes too much. I'm a single game better mostly, John, but I will play these and I'll throw some money line dogs in there to pump up that payout. And I won't bet a lot. I bet $20 on a parlay and look for something to grab a big score. It's like being at the racetrack, right? Betting triples and throwing a few out there. How worried should Duke fans be that Mike Elko will be making a Steve Spurrier-esque move to a school like Florida after this season? Seems like he'll be coveted by most major programs with the openings. That's the danger for a school like Duke. When they get a good coach, he's going to get poached. Florida will be looking for a coach most likely this year, but Billy Napier doesn't really start to get it going. But he may stick around. He may stick around longer than you think. Some coaches want to build something at the place they're at. But can you build a program to last at Duke? I'm not sure you can. And how many major SEC or ACC teams are going to be looking for a coach? Clemson's not looking for a coach, right? Alabama's not. Mississippi's not. Mississippi State won't be. LSU won't be. Alabama certainly won't be. Tennessee won't be. Florida is the only team I can think of, upper echelon SEC, where Mike Elko might potentially fit. But they have unreasonable expectations. Again, they go through great runs with coaches like Spurrier, and it took some time for him to get them over the hump there. They get Urban Meyer. They have a great run. Watch the Swamp Kings, as we've talked about on ESPN. If it ever, I'm sorry, it's on Netflix, so don't worry about that. But it's not like they've been this tremendous power throughout the history of college football. They haven't. And maybe Mike Elko gets a look at Miami if Marco Cristobal falls on his face again. Because Miami, and I've come into Miami fandom since they won national championships, not when they did. I became a fan basically through marriage. I root basically for good stories in college football. I don't have a real allegiance. I will say Miami I have an allegiance to. But I will tell you another thing. Miami fans think that they have a historic program there, and they don't. They basically had a great run from 82 to 2000, 2002, or 1. That's it. They've had some good football teams scattered in there besides that run, but that's it. This isn't a team that goes back through history like Notre Dame, like Alabama, like Ohio State, Michigan. Miami fans think they are, but they're not. What else we got here? Okay. If Elko wins 9 games, he's getting plucked. He's winning 9 games. I went through the schedule before, and I'll do it again right now. He's winning 9 games. I had him winning 9 games without winning this game on where's this? Where is the ACC? Where's the ACC? They don't even. Come on, where are you? ACC. Got to get to Duke. I had them not winning 9 games without beating Clemson. So now they're 1-0. They're playing Lafayette. That's 2-0. They're playing Northwestern. That's 3-0. They're playing UConn. That's 4-0. They got Notre Dame, a big game. They will give Notre Dame fits. That's at home. I'm going to give them a loss there, though. 4-1. I'm going to have them beat North Carolina State, 5-1. Lose to Florida State, 5-2. Beat Louisville, 6-2. Beat Wake, 7-2. At North Carolina, I'll give them a loss there. 8-3. I'm sorry, 7-3. Virginia and Pitt win. There's your 9 wins. I took a win away from them. I think I took the win at North Carolina away from them that I had given them before they beat Clemson. So I'll still keep him at 9. This team has a good possibility of winning 10 games. This team has a really good shot to get into the ACC championship game. Really good. And he will get plucked unless he wants to stay there, and I don't see it. David Cutcliffe's the only really good coach who ever really stayed there for any length of time. They either stunk and got fired, or they were like Steve Spurrier and moved on. Or at least he gets off. He'll definitely get offers. Florida State fans are the most miserable fans in the SEC. Well, Florida fans are the most miserable fans in the SEC. But again, they because when their team stinks, they always want more. And all the Florida teams have struggled through the last decade. I mean, Florida State won a national championship, but it was kind of a one-off thing. They haven't been able to keep the kids at home because the way college football is now, and Florida is still probably, I think, still the best recruiting ground. Sorry, CA, in the country, Florida, for high school football players. But they don't all stay at Miami, Florida State, Florida. First of all, there's more competition within the state itself. UCF has done very well. Some of the best facilities in college football at UCF. The kids are going up to Clemson. They're going to Wake. They're going to Georgia, Alabama. That's why the Floridas and Florida States and Miamis have not kept that run going. And Florida thinks they should be this team that competes every single year. And I think They got fooled during the Spurrier time and the Urban Meyer time to think that's who they are. Well, they'll have spurts when they get good coaches in there. And I don't think Billy Napier is the answer. After that Clemson game, I believe that Duke can beat Notre Dame. I wouldn't put it past them, and I think the game's at home. That game at home is going to be very interesting, and there's no time on that game. That's this month too. The end of this month, the 30th. I will be on a cruise. Will I be on? No, I will be in Florida about getting on a cruise ship the next day. I will be somewhere watching this game. Not saying they will, but it's possible. I'm kind of with you. John, we haven't agreed too much tonight. What is going on? I'm a little worried. Have I gone into Bizarro universe, or is everything still? I gotta make sure I haven't gone into some kind of multiverse version of college football huddle. Florida has one of the few fan bases that stops going to games when the game isn't doing well. There's a few around. Miami's that way. Take a look at, and by the way, one of Miami's biggest problems is not having a stadium on campus or near campus. When their season turns around, look at Hard Rock Stadium, and that place is half empty and dead. So, but Florida's very similar. One of the few SEC. Oh, I got you. No, I won't give the SEC fans credit. And college football fans, as a rule, again, depending on where we're talking about, right? The traditional powerhouses, they're going to attract fans no matter what. SEC has a long history, and even the schools that are bad, those places are usually packed. Because if they're not any good, they got a good team coming in. Miami fans don't go to the games when they're winning, and well, this is true. And then when they're there, I don't know who the fans are that are there. I don't know if they're real fans because, again, that's so far away from campus. Miami would really benefit if they could find a way to build a stadium on or near the campus. I'm just saying, it's just, again, it's a muted fan base. I've been to games and it's like being in church sometimes. Not that they've had a lot to cheer about the last few years, but they've had some good teams. They got to some really good starts, and they've had big home games that they've lost, and they got no help from their fans. Now, again, it's on the players, but the fans can help teams pick them up when they're down. But it's a very good point, John. So anyway, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks, John DeLon, for contributing so much tonight. Rick Sherlock, thank you. Anthony Price here early. CA, thank you all for always jumping in. Anybody I've missed, and anybody who watches us later on, listen, the reception for this year's show has been off the charts. Before we even got any games, we were getting, with all the platforms that we go to, well over 2,000 views on this show weekly. And I want to thank everybody who helps contribute to bring that. And by the way, you guys in your comments help that a whole lot because this is what makes this show go. And I love it for sure. And I love John. Thank you. Great to have you on. And I know sometimes you and I go at it, but I love having you on here. Anyway, good stuff. Anyway, great football this weekend. Texas, Alabama, stick with it. If you're an Alabama fan, you can afford to lose this game. Texas can't, but I think Alabama wins it. And there's some other sneaky good games too. We'll review them on Sunday on the Stream of Consciousness show. Catch us Friday with Are You Serious and the Mad New Yorker. I'll have the Major League Baseball update. We may even have a Let's Talk New York sports show with one of our favorites, Dan Harris, this week too on Friday. We'll let you know how that goes later in the week. Guys, have a great weekend. Let's go college football. And hey, Disney, Spectrum, figure this shit out. Excuse my French. Bye-bye.
But Dallas at the New York Football Giants.
That's going to be the game of the week.
Yes, it will be. But there's some issues. First of all, the What do you want to ask, Anthony, before we get into it?
Well, one of the things, Anthony, I lived in Newark 1 year, so I was there in Newark, the hard city.
Yeah, Brick
New
City.
Jersey. Brick City.
But Dallas and New York, there's some issues in this game. New York has not beat Dallas the last 10 times.
What? Are you serious?
Yes.
So what?
The last time Dallas won an opening game was against the New York Giants. But there's other issues. So I want you to know this, and I'm going to be honest.
You so pro.
Can I
finish?
Can I finish? Mike McCartney is 0-3 in opening games. Mike McCartney must win, and he must at least get to the championship game or he's going to be gone. He's in the last year of his contract. He is under extreme pressure. Okay? Cowboys will win the Super Bowl, Anthony, but but there is a lot of pressure on them. Everybody's talking about the defense, and they're good, but they have not played.
I tell you what, Anthony, we don't want to hear about the Cowboys. It's gonna be somebody from the NFC East win the Super Bowl. It's gonna either be the Eagles or the Giants.
The Giants have the 11th toughest schedule in the NFL. The Cowboys have like the 13th toughest schedule, which I think is shocking since the Cowboys were ahead of the Giants, but they have the 13th toughest. It would not shock me to see the Cowboys lose this game. It wouldn't shock me because I think the Cowboys, as the season progresses, will get better. But it wouldn't shock me. I think the Giants are going to be fired up, and they're going to be ready.
The Giants are going to be fired up. And another thing, too, the Giants play a little bit more of their players during preseason than the Cowboys didn't play nobody in preseason. So I don't think
they didn't really play the quarterback or Saquon. And those are Saquon is what makes the Giants go.
Yeah.
So they didn't play him, and then the Cowboys didn't play Tony Pollard.
But Tony Pollard's still hurt. He's still hurt. He probably won't play number two quarters against the Giants. No way.
I disagree. I think he's going to play. I think he'll make. I think what's going to happen is there's some things that people are not looking at. The Cowboys are better at tight end than people give them credit for. Hendershot is better than anywhere than that Dalton Schultz. He was awful. The problem they have is the running, and they're going to have to rely on Rico Dow.
John Schultz was one of the most consistent tight ends that you guys had in the last 3 years.
No, he wasn't. I went to practice.
You sure about that?
He dropped everything. This kid, and then they got the kid from Michigan. He's pretty good. So they'll be all right at wide receiver. Still, if you were to pick wide receivers, you still pick the Cowboys wide receiver, wouldn't you? CeeDee Lamb?
Pretty much so.
Good. Brandon Cooks.
Brandon Cooks is good.
Then Michael Gallup is your third receiver. And then you got the kid Tolbert, who's really come on. It's no question.
Gallup, his knee better be a little bit stronger than it was at the end of the season. So
I think where you have the advantage is the running back. I think
no doubt
that Saquon Barkley is the best running back in the East.
Got the running back and the tight end advantage. We got both of those. We got the tight end advantage this year for the first time.
But you got to remember Waller, and I agree with you, but he's only played 14 games in the last 3 years.
Are you sure about that?
Look it up. 14 games.
Look that up. But I know maybe he been but I tell you what, maybe he's stronger now because he looked really good.
Yes, he looked good. but he's played 14 games in the last 3 years. I look up these things. I research these things. Don't try me on this.
But he gonna play two good. He gonna have 2 good games against the Cowboys this year. I tell you that. Try that.
Offensive line. You know, Terrence Steele, if they stay healthy, but that's a big if, the Cowboys have a better offensive line than the
a little bit, not much, but just a little bit.
But they do.
Giants
So quarterback, the Cowboys still have a better quarterback than the Giants.
I think it's about almost even.
It is not almost even. It is
just
no
due
question.
to the fact what Daniel Jones did last year. He rushed for 7 touchdowns.
He ain't gonna rush like that on the Cowboys.
Shoot, why not? He might have 50 yards on the Cowboys.
No, he won't.
Okay.
But the game probably is going to come down to turnovers. The teams that can create, and Wink Martindale's scheme can create turnovers, but also you got to remember the New York Giants is playing with 2 rookie corners.
And they good corners. They
I don't care how good they are. Just CeeDee Lamb and Brendan Cooks. And then you got Michael Gallup in the slot. Come on, man. Are you serious?
Hey,
these 2 rookie corners. Brendan Cooks has been over 1,000 yards except last year.
They hadn't been playing, though. They ain't ready.
Okay.
I'm telling you. They ain't in game ready shape.
That is going to get them. So
that going to probably, since you said we got 2 rookie corners, that going to throw 2 interceptions to 1 to each rookie corner. That's
okay. They're going to get out there. They're going to look out there. They're going to see all that crowd. Man, this is not like college. This is a little I'm a little nervous now.
They done got over that, Jim.
They're going to see.
They had preseason.
They're going to see.
They had preseason.
Yeah, but it's never full in preseason, as you know, as I do. It's a lot bigger crowd.
It's still the same environment.
Oh, come on.
You still got the same field and the same walls.
I'm just telling you, trust me on this. Because they also got to get ready for a new offense because Mike McCartney, and he's giving Dak Prescott more leeway to change plays. So that's going to help them.
What they gonna mean? I'm gonna tell you now. I'm gonna tell you the missing piece to the Cowboys. The last 2 seasons they won 12 games, right? The last season. Guess what? You might well X off two games because they ain't got Ezekiel Elliott no more. That's what the Cowboys don't have. Mark my word. Okay. People don't realize how valuable he was to their offense.
I agree. Zeke was
very valuable to their offense.
There comes a time for everybody, and it's unfortunate it was Zeke's time. And I like Zeke, but
you're gonna say Byron said that they're gonna be short. They're gonna be hunting. Hey, the Cowboys gonna be hunting for some running backs.
This is the best.
They're gonna be hunting for some running backs. I'm telling you.
This is the best team they've had in the last 10 years.
Tony Pollard is not proven. He's not proven.
He went to the Pro Bowl last year. What? He was in the Pro Bowl.
Oh, no. They might be the best defense.
No, this is the best team they've had.
It wasn't nobody else doing that in the NFC. That's why.
Okay.
Running back.
Okay. They are.
You're gonna say Byron said that.
They're the only
different
team.
When you come up.
They're the only team that consistently. They're the only team.
When you the main focus, and they're gonna put a hat on his head.
Okay. See, you knocked yourself off with the crazy talk. Oh, my goodness. Technical difficulties. Anthony, Brick City, Newark, huh? I'm from the Jersey Shore. Byron's having a lot of technical difficulties this evening. He moved into a new house, and it is he got internet for some guy that came around and knocked on the door. So hopefully we get him back. We'll wait for him a minute. There he goes.
Okay, so let's straighten Jim out here, Byron. I'm here. Dallas will lose by at least a touchdown Sunday night.
This is bad.
I will put Jalen Hyatt, Slayton, and I'll put Wade Robinson against those three any day of the week.
You have lost
We
your
have
mind.
more speed on the Giants' offense at receiver than we ever have, more than Dallas. You got a bunch of gimpy old men over there. They can barely run patterns anymore. And you got CeeDee Lamb who kind of floats around. He doesn't even know what a route is. The only route he knows is the paper route when he delivered when he was a kid. That's about the only route that he can
First
run.
of all, let's correct this. It's a route, but
Right.
then
Well, it's spelled the same.
I would take CeeDee Lamb, Brendan Cooks, and Michael Gallup any day. And your expert on receivers admitted the same thing.
Well, he was.
Am I right, Byron?
Byron's not going to answer you. I'm telling you right now. See? He took off.
I wouldn't be shocked if the Giants won this game.
I wouldn't either.
The Cowboys are notoriously under Mike McCarthy slow starters.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I listen, Jim. I
But
know
in the last 10 games, how many times have the Giants won?
I know you love the well, we're trying to get him in. I know you love the Cowboys. You play with them forever. You're having
I'm just
something.
being honest.
You have something against the Giants because they didn't draft you. So
I don't
we all
want to play
know-
with you. I didn't want to play in no 3-4.
So well, I think you would have loved playing next to Lawrence Taylor. I think anyway. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I wouldn't want to play in a 3-4.
Yeah, that would have been terrible. I'm trying to get you guys together here. Byron froze again. Byron, there.
Byron. He's there, but he's having all kind of technical difficulties.
I see.
He's, he
So
lost.
Sunday,
You might have to be careful because you're rooting for the Giants this week, and you might have technical difficulties too because
you never know, Jim. That could happen. Listen,
I think the Giants this is the best Giants team that the Cowboys have faced. But this is
the Giants. This should be a real good game. All honesty,
yeah,
should be a real good game.
Honestly, this is the best Cowboy team they've faced.
I don't know about
in the
that.
last 10 years.
Yeah, I'd give you that. I'd give you that.
And I'm just telling you, just watching them, the problem both teams have is obviously with the Giants, they have a great running back in Saquon, who's arguably one of the best in the league. But their wide receiver core is still unproven.
But that's true. That's true. They're a brand new group. But they got the fastest. They have the fastest wide receiver crew in the league. Jim, you're talking everybody's below 4.3 or below 4.
Doesn't matter if you don't catch the ball.
It will matter when they're trying to cover them and they're hitting Barkley and Waller underneath. That will matter a lot.
Waller
That's
exactly
like
I said. Last 3 years, Waller's played 14 games.
We're not talking about last 4 years. We're talking about this year. You know what I mean? And
he could be gone after the first game.
Byron, you were on offense. This is what I would do against the Dallas Cowboys. I would pick on Thibodeau, though. I mean, not Thibodeau. I would pick on Parsons.
That's what we're going to
do. I would pick on Parsons the whole game.
Oh my goodness!
Stop acting up, Jim.
I would run inside him. I'd pull a guard. knock him out. I take total advantage of his aggressiveness, which is a very aggressive player. I run screens his side. I'd option his side. I'd keep him back on his heels the whole game. I would just pick on Parsons the whole game. Make him
run right at him. Run right
Yes.
at him.
Run
Yes.
right at.
Yes.
When he plays, you guys failed to think about this. He doesn't play defensive end the majority of the time. In pass rush situations, he does. What does he play? He plays the outside linebacker.
Right.
So
And he loves to. I would rather.
there's my boy Rick is in.
I see Rick's in. I see that. Rick's just he just loves the Cowboys. That's all.
What's up, Rick?
Hey Rick.
Hey, Rick.
You having
What's
a
up,
good
Rick?
evening.
That's the truth. But John Gonzalez is finally coming to his senses here. He's saying,
Rick, you
good.
brainwashed.
If they stay healthy, that's a big if.
He brainwashed.
Well, you could say that. You could say that about the Cowboys too with their players. If their running back stays healthy, if their tight end stay healthy, if Dak Prescott stays healthy, you can say that about anybody. That
Just
is
as I mentioned to you, Mike McCartney is on the clock. If he's not successful, he's in the last year of his contract. He will be gone.
Exactly.
He has to win. He has to do well to stay. And he knows that. He knows that he's got to play at a different level for that team to play. This is it.
There is no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. So you said you wouldn't be shocked. In fact, you expect the Giants to win. That's what you said.
No, I said I wouldn't be shocked. I expect the Cowboys to win.
All right. I was just making sure I heard you right.
I think the Giants have an opportunity. This is the best Giants team. But I tell you what the problem is. First of all, you got 2 rookie corners starting, and Martindale is still going to be aggressive. That's going to be the biggest test, Jim. You brought up the biggest point that I would have said is the rookie cornerbacks. Can they cover these guys? And they're going to have to pressure Dak Prescott, make him make some bad throws. They're going to have to do that. I agree.
If they don't do that, the cornerbacks are going to be in for quite an awakening here covering NFL receivers. Yeah,
that is a serious issue in the NFL. Now, the Giants have a top 5 interior players. Their 2 defensive tackles could play for anybody.
Yeah.
They are very good, both of them. They're perimeter players, even with the kid they got from Arizona.
Simmons.
And I think Thibodeau is going to be a double-digit sacker.
I do too.
But the problem is that this is the healthiest Tyron Smith is. And Tyron Smith is a big guy. He's very aggressive, and he can hold up. They're
can't say that.
Terrence Steele, they just signed him to a huge contract.
And John, you're right. Simmons is going to be a big difference maker.
Yeah, during the season, but not in the first game.
You're going to see him up on the line playing like a safety. Like I'm trying to remember he's going to be putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, but most people play him as like a linebacker because he wasn't. Yeah. He struggled. Oh my goodness! Here's Byron again.
Yeah, I think he got a phone call. Let's see.
Lord. Oh Lord! Hey Byron,
folks were trying to keep it together for you. So go ahead.
I ain't talking.
Byron's tired of talking. So who do you guys got?
Hey, I've been out here talking to myself.
Byron,
let's move on from the Cowboys and Giants. We know that's going to be the last game of the week.
The Giants 31, the Cowboys 28. Back to Dallas, losing 0-1.
Hey, it is not a sprint; it's a marathon. Remember that. It is not a sprint. Because you lose the first game doesn't mean you're not going to be successful.
It's not a marathon for McCarthy, that's for sure. But anyway, listen, your last game, you got Buffalo and the Jets.
Buffalo at New York.
Very interesting.
Buffalo is going to win this game. Diggs is going to have a huge game. Buffalo and New York has got a lot of things, but they play, and it's at New York, actually. How can that be? They got 2 games. One night they're going to have to change that field quick.
Yep.
But that's going to be good for Buffalo. Josh Allen, there's a little bit of say he's not working as hard as he should be. But Josh Allen, they're going to be ready. Buffalo's going to be ready. They're still one of the most talented teams in the NFL, even without Von Miller. What do you think, Byron? You agree, don't you? I thought you did, so.
I don't know what you're talking. Byron, what is he talking about? I don't know what he's talking about.
He's agreed. He left because you made him leave because he agreed with me.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Right now, Buffalo is a team that has leveled out. They're fighting amongst each other. They're talking about Josh Allen. They're talking about Josh Allen. Their defense is very suspect. Their best running back is Josh Allen. Their receivers, they got one good receiver. That's about it.
That's not true. They got a great tight end. They got really good receiver.
And
Plus,
the
Micah Hyde is who you're talking about.
And the Jets got one of the best defenses in the league.
But the Jets only have one receiver, the Garrett kid. If Garrett gets injured or doesn't play well, people can take him out of the game. And then who is he going to throw to? Who is he really going to throw to? Aaron Rodgers. People don't think about that.
He got some more receivers.
Who?
He got some more receivers.
He ain't got no receivers.
He brought over half the receivers from Green Bay, Jim. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but they ain't that. They were guys that Green Bay was glad we had to get rid of them.
They are possession receivers. That's what they are.
Yeah. They're going to possess the ball going back to the
Lazar.
Cooks.
I'm trying to think of the other guy.
Yeah.
So listen.
He played for the Cowboys too. They got rid of him.
Cobb is there too.
Randall Cobb.
Yeah. I listen.
They got possession receivers.
Yeah, Cobb been on 14.
Yeah.
Buffalo's
Cooks has been on a lot of teams.
Buffalo's defense got pushed around last year by a second string offense in Cincinnati. What do you think the Jets are going to do to them?
Well, the Jets won't win this game.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're going to rip them apart.
You guys have lost your mind. You guys have. I'm going to start drug testing you guys.
Matt and Byron know football.
I'm going to start.
This is what you're going to have. You're going to say Matt and Byron know football. They really do. They know football.
Rick.
Don't be looking for help.
Hey. I know what I'm talking about. First of all, I have a good internet connection. So how can I trust you when you don't even have a good internet connection? Oh.
I'm going to call everybody in the state. Hey, I'm going to call everybody in the state of Texas. I'm going to get this damn Wi-Fi fixed. I tell you that now.
I don't trust your opinion because you couldn't even get the right internet.
Another good point by John Gonzalez. The Jets defense.
Where did John come from?
The Jets defense is going to be one of the best in the league. They're going against an offense that is a little above average.
The Jets are going to start the season off 0-2 because you know where they go the next week.
To beat Dallas?
Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Texas. They're going to Dallas.
The Cowboys going to be – that's what's going to happen. They're going to be 0-2, the Cowboys.
No, they won't.
And by game 5, they might be trying to – Deion.
See,
all right, John.
Yeah, I told you who he was.
There you go, John. I have respect for that. But John, I'm getting beat up by these Giants fans. So you guys are going to lose, and I'm sorry. It happens, John. You guys
You're a crap.
struggled in the NFC East. So you tied the Washington Commanders last year. But you know what? It's time to go. You guys sleep on this, and we'll talk about this again.
Hey, go
Yes,
cut
we
your
will.
hair, Jim. Go get
Everybody-
a shave. You losing your
All
mind.
right. Byron will be on us. Byron will be on with us Friday to talk about Thursday's game. Of course, Jim will be on the big football show with us Sunday.
Big show.
Yes, the big football show, and we'll talk about the picks and everything there too. So should be interesting. Everyone,
Hey.
good night.
Hey, John, thank you for coming by. Anthony, thank you for coming by. Jason, we're going to play golf, so we're not letting Byron come. So.
And both of y'all ain't no good golfer at that. I'll tell you that now.
Wow.
Bye.
Have a good night.